Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have one of our favorite guests. He's an author who's been with us. Welcome back, Julien. Julien Ayotte. And Julien, when was the first year you came on with us?
It was 2013.
Well, we were in our temporary studio over
That's
there.
correct.
Oh my God, I remember. And then we had COVID, and we missed a year or two. Right? He's been with us. Many books this gentleman has written, and I would say, you say they're mystery thrillers. I'd say quite a few have a basis up, like we're going to talk about this one, in reality. They're reality.
Yes, they are. They all have, you could believe what you're seeing, even though it's a fiction.
Yeah.
Because I take people to places that they may never get to,
Yep.
and they feel like they've been there after they've read the book, which makes me
This is
feel
his
good.
latest one. Now, in the shadows of Vietnam, the gallant life of Father Philip Soloy
Salwa. Yeah,
is that Polish?
it's very French.
French?
Oh my gosh.
So when they say Salwa, I'm thinking of S-A-L-W-A. Okay. Saloy, yeah, French. I should know that. I'm part French. This is not only written by Julien, but it was edited by Paul F. Caranci. Okay, Paul, shout out to you too. And the cover, at first when I saw this, I thought this was Julien when he was young. I mean, when he was a kid in these. But it's the real father.
It is him when he was 19 years old, and he was in Vietnam. He made a bad choice. The bad choice was that he dropped out of college because he had bad grades in the first year when he was in California. He went to Cal Fullerton, I guess. He lived somewhere close by to Los Angeles, but he had poor grades, and he decided college was not for me.
Yeah.
So he went to work for Warsaw, the insurance company, and he was like a clerk in the office. About 15 months later, Uncle Sam says, you're no longer in college, so you're drafted.
Yeah.
And within 6 months after he was drafted, he was sent to Vietnam.
What year was this, do you remember?
Yes, he was sent to Vietnam in 1969.
Oh my gosh. Well, and
1969.
in 1970, an infantryman and his platoon encountered a horseshoe-shaped ambush in the jungles of Vietnam.
Yes, he was assigned as an infantryman, a grunt is what they call them. And one day they were on patrol in the jungles in a small village in Vietnam, and they were ambushed. A U-shaped ambush means they were ambushed on three sides. And 6 of his comrades were isolated from the rest of the platoon, and they were trapped. And there was no way to get to him at the time. He was very upset that the commanding officer at the time said, no, we're going to wait for recruits before we try to rescue them. And his comment was, if we wait for recruits, they'll be dead.
Yeah.
So we have to do something now. So he, along with a comrade, decided that they were going to attempt a rescue, and they ran toward the 6 people who were trapped, hid behind a huge boulder, and started shooting at the enemy to distract them from the soldiers that were trapped. And it worked, because the soldiers were able to start crawling out of their capsulated area and get back to the squad and the platoon. So unfortunately, the guy that went along with him was killed. So he didn't realize that until he got back crawling, and he said, where's my buddy? And the guy said, he's out there in the field, he's laying down. So they rushed back to get him, brought him in, and he was dead. So I mean,
this was a priest. He was a priest before he even went in, or
no, he was an infantryman, just
infantry, and then okay.
Yes, and he before he went in to rescue these people, he made a promise to God. He said, God, if you get me out of this mess without a scratch, I'll do anything you want.
And I love what he ended up doing.
But this is a very common promise that soldiers make.
Yeah.
Because when you're going into battle, you want to take every advantage you can get. And one of them is like, hey, big guy, you get me out of this mess.
There are no atheists in foxholes, right?
What's that?
There's no atheists in foxholes. The old saying.
That's right. So the long and the short of it was that he got out of the service because he did come out fine, and this was in March of 1970. In October of 1970, after he had served over a year in Vietnam, he was sent home. So, and it's funny because when he was sent home, you remember the people who went to war in Vietnam were not really heroes in the eyes of the American people, because they felt that we shouldn't have been in Vietnam to begin with. But whether it's true or not, it was an unfair tag on these people who risked their lives in the service. They didn't ask for this. They were sent there. And so, but they had to almost disguise themselves when they came home. They didn't come home in full military uniforms, and if they did, they went to the nearest bathroom and changed into civilian clothes, because they knew that there was a lot of animosity towards soldiers. So, I saw this, I read this article in the Providence Journal in April of last year, and it was about Father Phil Salwa, and it was about his heroics in Vietnam, and how after his heroics, 4 years later, he was in a seminary in California because he thought he wanted to be a priest, but he wasn't sure. He's walking the fields saying his afternoon prayers at the seminary. He hears an inner voice, what is called in Catholic terms a locution. He hears a voice inside his head. So here's a guy who's hearing voices. He says, what, am I going crazy? I'm hearing voices. The voices said, do you remember that promise you made to me 4 years ago? I want you to become a priest. So he did. He became a priest 14 years after he came out of Vietnam. And for the next 35 years, all he did was treat veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, remember, this is a guy who got the Silver Star in Vietnam, one of the highest awards America gives. And now he's a priest, and he becomes a hero in a different sense by saving the souls of these people who are troubled. He himself, from 1970 to 1984, when he became a priest, suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. He had never told any. Imagine, he goes in there rescuing people, shooting.
And he kept it to himself. That's what gets me.
They don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So when he came out of his shell, through therapy, like everybody else, which is what he ended up doing, and after doing it for so many years to save a lot of these veterans, he came out with a great comment. He says, who counsels the counselor?
Yeah.
He says, I have what these people are talking about. I'm supposed to make them feel comfortable and to, get a grip on life and try to get back slowly, whatever it takes. I'm hearing all of these things day in and day out, but who takes care of me?
Yep.
So he formed a group of ministers who went to Vietnam for the same purpose as he was doing the counseling to veterans himself.
Ministers and priests?
But all the ministers would get together once a year and have a 3 or 4 day seminar, if you like. They pour out their souls.
I wonder about rabbis were there too, you think?
Rabbis,
everybody's welcome.
Ministers, and you got to remember, he wasn't a minister to begin with, but a lot of the people who went to Vietnam as chaplains came because they also had all of these nightmares that they were hearing every day, and they said, yeah, this is driving me cuckoo, and I've got to pour this out and talk to people about it. And so he spoke to people all over the world at conferences. He was invited because of this work. He's gotten about 25 or 30 military medals. He's gotten an equal amount of social and civic awards from
Silver Star for his acts in Vietnam.
the American Legion. the Knights of Columbus, all of these organizations gave him like the Veteran of the Year award.
Yeah.
Today, as we speak, he is the national chaplain of the Vietnam Veterans of America. He's the national chaplain of the American Legion. These are the two highest veteran organizations in the world.
How about the Wounded Warriors? Is he on that?
I'm not sure. He must be,
he'd be
at
great
least
on
a member.
Yeah.
Well, he was never wounded, but
No, but wounded mentally, physically, emotionally.
yeah, internally.
We are talking with Julien Ayotte, and he has written a great book, true story.
So I said,
In the Shadows of Vietnam. Julien, how can they get a copy of your book?
my book is easily attainable on my website, which links it to anywhere you want to buy it. My website is www.julianayotte.com.
Ayotte.
And Julien is with an E, Julien. So it's julianayotte.com.
Now, will there be a copy up at the Upton dedicated local authors?
This book is dedicated not only to...
Will it be in the section for the dedicated authors up at the...
yes, it would be.
Okay, so
yes,
you can
it
go
would
on
be.
up there, it'll be exhibited and...
Absolutely.
enjoy
I always leave a copy of my book there.
Does the VA in Worcester, we were just up at UMass yesterday, have you seen the brand new VA building up at UMass UMass Memorial?
No, I have not.
Love it. You know what? These people should know about this.
This book came out in mid-November, and here we are, just a little past mid-January, and we have sold almost 600 copies already.
Online?
No, these were hard copies that were sold primarily. I had a book signing at my church,
Yeah.
and my parishioners love my books, my mystery thrillers. So if I came up with a book like Codename Lily, which is more on the true side, when I came up with In the Shadows of Vietnam, although it's not a mystery thriller, they said this has got to be good if he wrote it, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So at that particular church signing, I sold maybe 55 or 60 books. One signing, we had about 60 pre-orders. We've had Paul Caranci had his signings at the church as well, and so it goes all of these different places, and then people just buying them from me.
Sure.
They say, "Do you have a copy?"
Are you appearing at many other places coming up that people should know about?
Well,
Like Tatnuk and all these other places, a lot of indie bookstores like Webster.
Amazon.
The Book Lovers Gourmet. Get out in person more.
Yes. I do. The book is sold primarily on our websites, both paulcaranci.com is almost the same as mine, except this is paulcaranci.com without the F. But we sell so many on Amazon, it's amazing. And we're also on Kobo, Smashwords, Nook, all of these places. So
But think of all the veterans that would like to see you in person, and the families of veterans. Senior centers would love this.
I speak to senior centers about 6 times a year.
Good.
And I'm scheduled to speak in March at the Smithfield Senior Center in
Good.
Smithfield, Rhode Island, where I've spoken twice before.
Yeah.
I've spoken at the Johnston Senior Center, at the Woonsocket Senior Center, at the Lincoln Senior Center. Absolutely. Seniors read a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I've found a little niche, if you will, because they buy a lot of books, because they have a lot of time to read.
Well, also you've got a lot of veterans. And
Well,
really, we've still got World War II vets alive and with us. Alive
let
and
me
kicking.
tell you that in the January and February issue of the Veteran Magazine, which is the Vietnam Veterans of America's magazine, which has a circulation of 90,000, that book is featured in the book reviews, and also there's an ad in there for people where to buy it and how to buy it through us. So we don't fool around when it comes to a group that has 90,000 subscribers.
This is a great picture of this. of Dr. Phil on the back of it, so that you see him when he was young in Vietnam, and then he's how old
Yes.
now? About
He's
75.
75
Okay,
now.
so and it goes. This is the awe-inspiring true story of a gentle giant, a man who received the Silver Star, for his acts of valor in Vietnam, and a man who has merited the highest distinction for his service from veterans organizations to religious and civic groups alike. For over nearly 40 years, Father Phil brought spiritual healing to countless troubled veterans, from infantrymen to chaplains alike. In his role as the chief of chaplains in the Boston VA healthcare system, and in numerous retreats and conferences that he organized all over the U.S., so he's still going strong.
Yes, he's retired from the Boston VA health system
Yeah.
because
That's soon he's retired from
well,
that?
he was 67 when he retired, so that's 8 years ago, 2015 to be
Yeah.
exact. But the commute,
Okay.
in 2013, his mother died, and his mother owned a home in North Smithfield, Rhode Island, which he inherited.
Yeah.
And so he moved into there because there's a lot of memorabilia that she kept, everything that concerned the family, and so he said it had really good memories for him. Now he's been there for over 10 years, but the commute from there all the way to the Boston VA system every day
Yeah.
became a strain. And he said, I'm 67, I've been here for 35 years, I'm tired, it's time for me to retire. So he did, but he's still very active in American Legions
Yeah.
and VFWs and the Vietnam Veterans of America.
We
He's-
have a VFW, right up the street.
Yeah.
And would they love to have you come and make speak?
well, we speak to any group of any size
Definitely.
that is interested in knowing more about him, because the man is remarkable.
Have you met him?
I met him. Oh my gosh!
You did?
I interviewed this guy 6 times at breakfast for an hour and a half each time with Paul Caranci, where we taped our interviews with him.
Yeah.
I was with him last week. He is about to be inducted into the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame in April. Okay, I mean, he was the chief of chaplains for the Boston VA system, which is 4 hospitals, and he was the top dog. So, and you, if you saw him walking on the street,
Well,
you'd
no.
never know who he was, because he's very humble, and
He must have been up to our new VA right here in Worcester, because it's moved from the old building on Lincoln Street right in the campus of UMass Memorial.
he could be,
Beautiful.
but I mean, he's not as active anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, he's sitting back a little bit, and he does some talks and some dedications that involve veterans and statuettes and stuff like that. But other than that, he writes an article for the Veteran magazine,
Yeah.
which is the Vietnam
Is
veterans.
it that a monthly magazine?
Yeah, it's I guess
Bi-monthly?
bi-monthly,
Bi-monthly.
January and February
Yeah.
issue
Okay.
will be coming out any day now, and it will have a book review of this book in their magazine.
Father
So I mean, this is not
Philip
this is no small task. This is nationwide,
Yeah.
and actually internationally. We have a section in there in chapter 16 that is dedicated completely to the international people that he rescued. People from the United Kingdom, people from New Zealand, people from Australia, people from Scotland.
Yes.
These are all people that and some of the words that you read about what he did for them is remarkable.
One man's impact on the world. One man's impact on the world. I mean, he rescued people. And it's amazing that he came out of it. Of course, emotionally, PTSD.
Well, he still battles it.
Does he?
He says it never goes away.
No.
Post-traumatic stress can be controlled, but it's not really eradicated. And I really feel for the guy, because he tries not to show it, which is typical of someone who's counseling others. You don't want to show that you're troubled almost as much as the people you're counseling. The man is just a remarkable person. He lives 15 minutes from me, and I never heard of him. I had never heard of him. And then I saw this article in the journal about him, and so it took me 3 hours to get his email address. When I finally got his email address, I contacted him and I says, I'd like to do your biography. Would you be interested? He said, I've been told to do my own autobiography, but I don't have the patience.
Most people don't know how to do it, yeah.
And he said, I know nothing about it, but be my guest. And how do we go about this? So that's when I contacted Paul Caranci, who was a historian and a fellow author in the Association of Rhode Island Authors. And I said, Paul, would you be interested?
Yeah.
I said, I've got this great story. He says, I absolutely would love to write a book with you. So,
where did you get the picture of him when he was young?
From him.
The father gave that to you, and he said it was okay.
He's got many pictures.
You're self-published, aren't you?
Yes,
That's
I still
the beauty
am
of
published.
self-publishing. You can always pick your own cover.
With Kindle Digital Publishing, which is a division of Amazon. Yeah.
I love the cover of it. I mean, and then you look at the back and you see him now, just a kid in his 70s, and he lives 15 minutes from you.
And I never heard of him. And he got the Veteran of the Year award in the Woonsocket area, where I am originally from, and I just didn't know who he was.
And he is, I thought at first it was Polish, Saloi. Salwai.
Yeah.
Okay, Saloi.
He's a remarkable man, and I'm so glad that I can call him my friend now, because we've gotten to know each other very well. Obviously, when you meet with someone that often.
So doing his memoir, did you meet like once a month at his place, or maybe in a library, or you're taking notes as he talked? Or
we met at IHOP for breakfast. Nothing like getting a guy to open up when you're buying breakfast.
Ooh.
And he likes breakfast, and so Paul would bring a tape recorder and just put it on the table, and he would just talk for an hour and a half, and it was all over the place. It would go, 20 years apart and here and that, and we would then decipher it, put it all together, and we had many corrections, because at 75, there's a tendency that the dates aren't quite as accurate as you'd like them to be, so we would have to follow up and check on them.
You were brave to use the tape recorder. I know as a memoir writer myself, I tried, the first time I wrote a memoir for somebody, she's sitting there, and I had the tape, and you know what, I thought, something, if that thing messes up, and I've had it happen, this is not good. We're going to have to sit here and do this part again. So from now on in, I took the tape and I do it all. You talk to me, and I do it that way. I can't trust those doggone tape recorders.
Yeah.
But you can.
Oh, we definitely knew we had to use the tape recorder. We definitely knew. But I mean, he's got so many stories. We thought we'd be close to finishing the book, and he came up with another story. And I'm saying to myself, did I tell you how I said the opening prayer at the U.S. Congress in 1990-something? I said, you what? Yeah, when they opened the session for Congress in the House of Representatives, I gave the opening prayer that year. I said, that's not a small I mean, out of nowhere, this comes out, and I'm saying, oh, my God, we have
How many months were you guys working with him for this? Did it take a year or so, at least, to do this?
No, it took us, actually, this is the fastest book in my life. We met him in late May, and we came out with the book in November. I mean, we were working double time.
You guys were.
Yeah.
How many times did you meet a month?
Once or twice a month for an hour and a half at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And then Paul and I must have edited and co-edited the book and proofed it about 30 times at least. But his one saying to us was, will this book be out before I die?
Oh, gee. He's got a long way to go.
I said,
oh, come on.
I said, I mean, come on. I said, you're 74. You're not even 75
No.
yet. But he just wanted to know. He knew nothing about the process and how long it takes.
Before I die.
And so,
you should tell him the next, if you see him again, just say, by the way, have you checked the obits lately? Because if you look in the Worcester, like TNG, the going thing, 90s into 100s now. The heck with everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a big deal.
but when we came out with the book, he was very, very pleased. He
liked it.
He was touched. He was really touched. He said he uses the book now as a reference
Yes.
Because when someone asks him about the military medals and such, he doesn't remember them all. So he goes to the appendix and he looks up the section on the medals he received, which is nice. He says, I really like all the supplemental data that you put in there about me, which I forget.
Yeah.
I forget.
Was he, when he took a look at it, and for the first time, and then saw the back and the front, was he like, this is amazing? Was he surprised?
He was surprised, and he was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, yeah. How about his family? He's not married, right? No, he's a father. He's a priest, so he's not married.
He's a priest. He's not married. He has no siblings.
No family?
No, he's it. He may have a distant cousin and such.
People he knew in Nam must know him.
He is well liked by everyone he meets. And
where does he preach? Does he preach in Rhode Island? Does he have a church?
Well, he was a member of the La Salette missionaries, and he actually, for a couple of years, ran the shrine in Attleboro for La Salette.
Sure.
And he was assigned early on to a couple of parishes in like California, but not your basic parish, like Indian reservations, stuff like that. And then he got a call from Attleboro, and the supervisor said, I want you to come here and run the store.
Oh, definitely.
And that's how he got into the Providence VA, because he was bored.
He ran the store.
He ran the store and he was bored.
We have got probably about a minute left. Once again, Julien, how do they get a hold of your book, and if they'd like you to come and give a presentation?
My book can be easily picked up at my website, because I have links there to other places that you can buy it. My website is www.julianayotte.com, and it's Julien, Julien, and it's AYOTTE.com.
How far will you travel if people see this all over the lot? I mean, once you're on YouTube, you're all over the world, but how far would you travel to give a presentation?
30, 40 miles.
Okay, good. Okay, that's excellent. Now, do they still have the December the Rhode Island Authors Expo?
Oh, sure.
And it's at the hotel now.
It's at the Crown Plaza in Warwick.
In December.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been there. We went there once. I was totally overwhelmed.
It's huge. It's 125 authors in the month of December.
Yeah.
And if you're there buying Christmas gifts and you want to buy books, that's the place to be.
I know it was before they left, just before they left the building that was, I guess, falling apart. It was huge as it was.
Yes.
It was Rose on the Pawtucket.
Rose on the Pawtucket, which is where Father will be inducted in the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame, at Rose on the Pawtucket.
You got to read this, but I mean, it's a true story and awe-inspiring. And
he's alive and kicking, trust me.
He was in the Vietnam War. He's a priest. He has ADHD, and he's helping others who have ADHD too. Again, I highly suggest that you get the word out over to our brand new VA in Worcester. Huge, fantastic place. Great place to get the word out. And as you know, senior centers.
Yes.
There will be a copy of this at the Upton Library. Come on over, take a look at it, read it, get the word out about this. So you Vietnam vets out there, great book to read. You have a family member who's a Vietnam vet. I know
Absolutely.
that I was a kid, but I knew that I had a boyfriend. And when it hit me about Vietnam, when I heard, I was a kid when I said, oh my God, they may take him away. That's when it hit me. Thanks, Julien.
Always a pleasure.
What's the next book? Coming up?
It'll be coming out in the fall, back to a mystery thriller, and it'll be about a very unpopulated island of Hawaii.
Okay, well, you're going to let me know.
I will.
Oh, that's confusing. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time I'll be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.